Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday, the 21st of August. Again, I want you to see the true Jesus. I want to see you the mistake that was made in that teaching so that we do no longer follow blindly. I want you to show you that this world, the material world, is the fruit of the Spirit. You experience the outcome that was created by the Spirit, and you will know them by their fruit. And I want you to show you what the way of Jesus does and is still doing in this world at the moment, and how it will lead to destruction. To see the truth. Now, so many say that there was a different God in the Old Testament to the New Testament. Yeah? That the Old Testament was really dark, and then there's this wonderful moment of light in the New Testament with Jesus. He brought the light. And then, funnily enough, it all ends up in destruction again in the book of the Revelation. And how do we get there? How do we get there? We're going there. We're experiencing it. How do we get there? That is because what is sold to you as the light of Jesus was not light. And I want to show you this here. Know the story that you're in. Know the intention of God, and God is the intention. The intention is to rule over the animal. That is the level of consciousness that is animal. To rule over that. Subdue nature. Those that have already made it to the level of man, they will be subdued. Man will be subdued, so that God has dominion over this world. That is the outcome. And that is the way. Through subduing nature. And they subdue our nature mostly by creating imbalance. We are made out of many aspects, and they create imbalance by driving us into just one aspect. So you're being told that in the Old Testament there are obviously people there that had faults, and God would elevate them, yeah, to be the workers of His will, yeah. And you're being told God is doing this because He loves humanity so much. No, He doesn't. He takes it because He does it because those people with faults are the easiest to lead. Yeah? So Noah was a drunk. If there's some kind of addiction, they're easily led. They can be used. There's a way in through that addiction. David was an adulterer. Now, here's another thing, guilt. If you actually know you're doing something wrong, you can be blackmailed. If you're living in fear of being found out or punished, you can be blackmailed. Again, there is a way in by which a person is no longer standing in the strength of of himself. But there's a weakness there that can be exploited. God does that, big style. Or you have low self-confidence. That was Moses. Low self-confidence because of his speech impediment. Again, you have a person with low self-confidence. You can oppose your will on him quite easily. That's what happened there. And you can see it in this world. All of those things by the powers that be in this world at the moment. They are using all of those ways to make a person their servant. So then what happened was Jesus, this beautiful being of light that was all love and compassion and giving. And here is what I want to show you. He was compassionate to a fault. too much, too far, not knowing where to stop. If it ends up in self-destruction, you have gone too far. You've done something wrong. There was a point you should have stood up for yourself. And you didn't. He didn't. And that is how it's leading us into destruction. But it's doing it in several different ways. But just to say, you are made out of several aspects. Yeah, you have several emotional and feeling energies with which you can work to create an outcome. Yeah, and compassion, yes, can work an outcome, but if it leads you into self-destruction, you have completely missed the mark. Yeah, you've missed the point. And missing the mark is being in sin, and he was definitely in sin. And I want to show you what this works in this world. Again, life will teach you. Life is the outcome. It's the fruit of the Spirit. And there you will see the truth. You just need to come, we've been told like Spirit, that's all in heaven or something. And this is completely disconnected from this world. You are disconnected from the Spirit. No, you're not. You are experiencing the outcome of the Spirit. You're in no way disconnected. You're in it. You're living it. Life is teaching you. See it. So, when we talk about compassion, and here is again, there's a spiritual teaching that is truth, and it was given to you, and you're not reasoning about it. And that is, compassion is the door through which all can enter in. And that is exactly what is happening. I mean, we are creating a reality out of this. Where with countries where we're being told, be in compassion, give, and let them all enter in. We're doing it. Yeah? We're test driving this spiritual, what was given to us as truth. We're test driving it. We're seeing the outcome. Yeah, and it's not good. Now, it is truth in that when you are in compassion, it is compassion that does not judge. It does not judge. It's void of judgment. Because if you have the reaction of compassion in the presence of suffering, because that's when it's triggered. Yeah? There is some kind of suffering that will trigger your compassion. And at that moment, you are not judging. If you're filled with it, you're not judging. You're not asking how the person got into the mess that it is in. He or she is in. But you just want to help and give and make it better. So, yeah, judgment goes out of the window at that moment. But to do that, only that, with no other consideration, again, without the voice of Satan, the voice of fear, saying there might be danger. Yeah? Now you throw that out of your heaven. Don't listen to it. We are experiencing the outcome. We're letting everybody in. And what is happening? It's leading to destruction. But there's something else that's happening at the moment, again and again, out of my own experience right now at the moment. And really the experience should bring the truth to your awareness. It really should. Yeah? It is a physical experience and sometimes it hurts, and it really should bring the truth to your awareness. Again, for many it doesn't. Right. So, in my field here, there was a situation where a young child took a mother's phone. First of all, was throwing around with it in the room, which obviously, again, 10 commandments, what we know to be right and wrong. Somebody else's possession. Yeah, no, you don't just take it. You don't take what belongs to somebody else. You do not throw around with it and trying to break it. So in the end, the child grabbed the phone and held onto it really tight, and when the mother wanted to take it off her, she wouldn't let go, screaming, kicking, holding onto the phone. So she got a good slap to the hand and let go of it now. Yeah, so there was an amount of force being used. Outcome. Emergency, child went to play school, said, my mommy slapped me and I'm really sad now. So emergency social services at the door in the evening. Another phone call from social services the next day. You should not chastise you should not slap your child. Don't do that. It's bad, bad, bad. Yes, you being evil, doing that. I think in Scotland they're now want to go as far as bringing in a law that you can't even raise your voice against the child. That is abuse. Now don't get me wrong, I am of the generation that has actually experienced real abuse. Yeah, many of us did that are of my generation. And I grew up in fear, make no mistake, I did. Yeah, there was verbal and physical abuse. And I grew up in fear. That is not the right way either. I'm not advocating for that in no way, shape or form. But there is a measure of force that is right. So what happens if you don't use that measure of force when it is called for? Yeah? Your first approach should always be reason, speaking. But then if that does not create the desired change, and compassion, love, giving has to be received in the correct way, or it does not work. See, it does not do all. It doesn't. It is not all. Wrong teaching. It's not all. So what we are actually teaching those children is that there are no consequences to your actions. Yeah? That you can get away with it. Yeah? There are no limits. And we will raise a generation of lawless ones. We are raising that generation. It's already here. We can see them. Going into shops, taking whatever they want. Yeah, and don't do anything about it. Yeah, stand back and let it happen. Don't use force against them. Whatever you do. So we are, again, raising a generation of lawless ones that will serve the lawless one. Again, people without a conscience, people without knowing right and wrong. Not all of them. Many have the natural balance and the natural knowledge of right and wrong within them, and that is the true Christ. Knowledge of self. Knowledge of all of your aspects and how to work them to create a good outcome. That is the true Christ. I am is the true Christ. So many have that in them naturally, and many, it doesn't matter what situation they grow up in, they will grow up to be, good adults because their own knowing was stronger than their environment. But as I said, many won't. And many, that knowing is not that strong. And again, those are the ones that God will use. Those that have a weakness within them. Not the true knowledge of good and bad. And God will use them. And we are actually raising that generation for them. And the idiotic thing is really, when you think about it, so you have young parents now that are being forced into compassion and giving by the law, They're being forced into that by the law with the threat of consequences and punishment. And make no mistake, that threat is extremely real. Yeah? And when this happened, I knew there was danger. I knew there was danger. Yeah? I have not thrown Satan out of my heaven and done away with fear and saying, oh, this is all not real and it doesn't matter. No, it does matter. And I knew there was danger. That we had to tread very carefully to avoid consequences. So we are being driven into this by the law, by force, to create a generation of lawless ones that will serve them. That's what we're doing. And then really see there was no change from the Old Testament to the New Testament. Yeah? God will choose those that have something wrong with them, with themselves, to serve Him, because they are no longer standing strong in the knowledge of man, in the knowledge of good and bad. And through that weakness, they can be used. Whether that be drugs, whether that be low self-esteem, whether that be guilt, so that they can be blackmailed, or simply driving them if there is something there that is naturally there, like greed, like lust, like compassion. Driving that into an extreme, feeding that dog. Yeah? The dog inside of Jesus, the compassion that was fed. So it becomes all. And then again, we are completely imbalanced and no longer stood in our truth. So no, there was no point of light. Or if there was a point of light for a moment there was Jesus, He was driven back into the darkness. Too much of a good thing is a bad thing. Taking something that is good to an extreme, again, it will turn into something bad. Knowing the balance, knowing where to stop, knowing where it can work and where it cannot work, where another aspect has to do the works, because compassion cannot do it. Jesus was compassionate and giving to a fault. And God will pick on those that have faults to do His works. And that's exactly what happened with Jesus. He was compassionate to a fault. He missed the point. He missed the mark. He shot it right past it, straight back into sin. So here, really make the connection. Again, right now, the one-liner for the sheep, yeah? We should all be compassionate beings of light. There's a one-liner for the sheep, yeah? And repeat it endlessly until it becomes a reality in the head of the sheep, yeah? They are running with that as truth. They're seeing outcomes in this world, which is the fruit of the Spirit, but they do not make the connection, because that is in heaven, and this world is completely disconnected from anything, And they're not seeing that you're actually experiencing the fruits of the Spirit, the fruit of the spiritual teachings, the truth that you were told and that you are running with. You are experiencing the material outcome of that. And the material outcome is the ultimate truth, the ultimate proof. Here, life is teaching you something. You are experiencing the truth in life. Yeah, and then make the connection. If there was supposedly this wonderful bright light there, how does it create the book of the Revelation? How are we going back into darkness? There is a mistake. There's cause and effect, so there is a mistake. And that is a mistake. And it's, as I said, it is working something. We are open in compassion to let everybody in. Our countries are being destroyed. We are told, driven into compassion with raising our own children, and don't use force, and we will raise lawless ones that will serve the lawless one. And that has never been our truth. Yeah, there has been punishment for willful children. Or, as I said, I'm not advocating for the battering of it. I've been through that, and that is not right either. Yeah, but we're going from one extreme into the other extreme, and the truth is in the middle. And that is the balanced middle, which is what we are always being driven away from. That is the point of our truth. That is the point of light. And we're forever being driven away from that into imbalance. And Jesus was completely and utterly imbalanced. And the outcome will be destruction if we're not standing in our truth. Anyway, folks, I leave it at this for today. And I talk to you again soon. Bye.